Adolescents make up the majority of children detained in U.S. facilities. Adolescents may experience traumatic events like the death of a family member quite differently than young children. Interviewers need to be patient and understanding, and at the same time be sensitive to red flags that these children are in urgent need of mental health intervention.
Adolescents present a particular challenge. They do not engage readily with adults. And when they're going through situations like this, sometimes they tend to withdraw and become more isolated.
It takes time to connect with them. Spend that time. Ask something about themselves. Ask about what they like to do. Ask about where they came from.
If you know a popular artist or a song, a folk song maybe, if you can connect over that, those little things help you to build the trust. Things like knowing the main cities in their countries or the different languages or dialects that are spoken.
Make sure you give the child time to respond to each question. Don't rush them with their answers. We want to let the child determine the pace of the interview.
They don't have to tell you a thing when you first meet them. You wouldn't tell a stranger. Give them time.
Ana was a 16-year-old girl fleeing violence in El Salvador. After crossing the border, she was picked up and held in a U.S. detention center.
She and her mother had been picked up in June. They had seen a lot of abuse, a lot of killings, a lot of threats, a lot of sexual violence in their lives, and they had escaped, and they were there, and they never knew when they were going to get out.
After several months of detention, Ana's mental health declined severely.
In that time, the girl became suicidal. She began cutting. She tried to hang herself with a sheet. In those situations where you know a child is capable and has a plan and is going to hurt themselves, you do exactly what you would normally do for any other child. Don't ever chance a child's life.
We recognize that not all professional volunteers will be trained to conduct mental health assessments, and for some, this can feel like a daunting responsibility. Also, each facility will differ in terms of what resources, if any, are available to support the mental health of the children in their custody. So we encourage you to seek advice and support from medical professionals working in your area, and use your best judgment to ensure that the best possible care is provided.
Ana, the questions that I'm going to ask next might be difficult to answer. I want you to know that it is okay to take a break or let me know if they are too difficult for you.
For adolescents, they need to feel that they're being heard, seen, and ultimately understood if the interview is going to produce the kinds of information you're going to need. It's important to be attuned to nonverbal cues, and it may be helpful to model the body language, the intonation, the way the child is speaking to you to help ensure that the child knows that they're being heard and understood. That must have been very hard for you. That would have been hard for anybody. I'm just sorry that you had to go through that at all.
Ana was released from detention and her mental health improved thanks to the successful efforts of a physician and a lawyer who worked together to advocate for her.
It's important that when you do find an adolescent or a child at significant risk, in need of urgent medical attention, that you have a mechanism to ensure that that care is provided.
Sometimes it's not going to be that straightforward, and what we need to do is look for signs that the kids may be having experiences that are challenging. For example, increased irritability, difficulty with sleep, involvement in more fights.
An adolescent who doesn't communicate any emotion at all in their body language and their facial expression is a cause for concern.
In addition to paying attention to the emotions that are expressed and the behaviors that you may notice in the narrative, it is also important to observe for physical signs. Signs like self-injurious behaviors, meaning scars, really in the arms or any part of their body. Patches of hair that are missing, which might be a manifestation of what we call trichotillomania, pulling your hair when stressed. Or marks of burning in the skin, self-burning, like for example with cigarette butts. Any physical signs that you can note would be helpful. It is important to ask if they have ever had thoughts of suicide, if they have ever attempted, or if they're feeling like committing suicide now. Because if that's the case, they need urgent medical care by a mental health professional. Have you ever thought or have you ever attempted to kill yourself? Or are you feeling that way right now? If any of this is a yes, this kid needs urgent medical care from a mental health professional.
Even if an interview has to be stopped, it is important that the child is left with positive feedback, really in three ways. One is that you recognize the strength and the resilience of not only participating in the interview, but enduring the experiences that have been discussed. Second, that you convey gratitude, thanks for participating in the interview. And third, that they understand that the information that they conveyed will be helpful to protecting the interests of other children in their similar situation.